Hey guys, Josh Ewan here at Crossroads Ranch. I want to talk to you today about colic. Colic just simply means stomach ache or abdominal pain, but it is the #1 killer in horses. Horses have a really interesting digestive system that can have all sorts of problems, especially in a man-made environment. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure to keep food going through the digestive system, not use too many concentrates, try to keep the mold out of the hay, all sorts of things, keep them from eating bark. There's all sorts of things that could cause colic in horses. They're very sensitive that way. So the #1 key to this is to try to prevent colic. Now, colic's not always going to kill your horse. Most of the time it's not going to kill your horse if you can catch it early by understanding what the signs are and the symptoms, and then understanding how to treat it. So let me go over with you a few different types of colic first. One is gas colic. It's a very intense pain for the horse. If you've ever had gas, you have had gas. If you admit it, it hurts, right? It hurts your stomach. It's the same with horses. They cramp up, they have all these problems, and they're trying to alleviate these symptoms on their own out in the field. The #1 way that they do that is they stretch, and then they lay down and they roll around trying to move that gas bubble out of the intestines. So that is one of the things that we deal with in horses. And honestly, we deal with it a lot in horses. And most of the time, we don't even know they're dealing with it because they're out in the pasture. However, gas colic can turn into other things if you leave it going. So if you don't see it happening, the horse gets to rolling around a lot, then they can turn that into torsion, or what some people would call a twisted gut. That gets a lot more serious because at that point you're displacing or twisting the intestines in there, and you can actually block blood flow, block all of the passage of all the nutrients and materials going through the digestive system, and cause a shutdown of the digestive system. So we try to find all of these things. That's why it's so important to keep an eye on your horses and on your herds. We went out of town this week, and it never fails that every time I go out of town on a trip, I always have something that happens here at the ranch. Fortunately, I have very well qualified people here at the ranch taking care of the place. And sure enough, we left out on Friday afternoon, we got our call. So, and the call was Bronco. So Bronco was showing symptoms of colic. Now, we didn't know what kind. We just knew that he was having some problems. So it could have been gas, it could have been torsion, and it also could have been what we call impaction. And that's where a lot of food gets into a ball and then it just blocks up, kind of like if you were to block a pipe in a house. It gets clogged, and you have to be able to get that out. So nevertheless, what we do is whenever we have those kinds of symptoms, we treat them all the same. The first thing that we do is we check the vital signs, all right? So I'm going to talk to you today first about vital signs, what to do about that, right? So we have different types of vital signs that we can go with to know if a horse is in distress, if he's having some kind of problems. And what I recommend is if you have horses, write the vital signs on a piece of paper, print them out online, put it right there in your tack room to where you can look at it and know what to check every time something happens. I also recommend to practice these things a lot. Understand what's normal for your horse. All horses are different, and the vital signs can look somewhat different depending on the horse. Bronco here behind me that got sick on Friday, he's typically somewhat of a nervous horse. He's kind of nervous around people. Anything will kind of disturb him a little bit. So he can have some signs that you would think, well, there's something wrong there, but not necessarily for him. One of the things that I do is I keep that paper in my tack room, and then if I have a horse that's sick, I just simply write it down on my hand. I write all my vital signs on my hand. So I have checked the capillary refill time, check the mucous membranes in his mouth, on his gums, check his temperature. It should be a normal 99 to 101. The pulse should be 28 to 44 beats per minute. He should have gut sounds, and he should have a respiration rate of 10 to 24 breaths per minute. All right, so we're going to go through these today. I'm going to show you some of these and show you how to do it. All right, so we're going to work on our patient here Friday afternoon, he started showing signs. We brought him up, or Amy did, my instructor. She brought him up. She went through some things with him, got him better. He did great on Saturday during lessons. And then on Sunday, he came down with the same symptoms again. So, cut my trip short. We came back. I had some wonderful people here. Robert Pewitt, Stefania, she was here as well. Some others as well. They all jumped in and helped this guy out. We did know that it was colic. So one of the first things we did was give him Banamine. That's an anti-inflammatory. It brings the swelling down in the intestines. And it also provides some pain relief to allow the horse to rest. So that did help, but he still didn't have very much gut sounds. He still wasn't eating, wasn't drinking. So then we went to our next option, and that was to put him in a trailer and take him for a ride. So when I got home, hooked the trailer up, put him in there, got down to the end of my road, which was about 3 miles away. Sure enough, he already passed some manure. So we got something moving in there through a stressful environment that kind of pushed it through, got something moving. The problem that I saw with it was very runny. It was watery, runny. There wasn't much substance to it. And my thought on that was that it was probably an impaction, that fluid was moving around and coming out. There was no balls of manure in there at all. And that's what I'd really like to see, is some healthy manure. So we worked on him, and we actually gave him some milk of magnesia to help him out with trying to make him pass some things. We did give him the Banamine. Oh gosh, what else did we give him? We made sure he had electrolytes, and we started him on probiotics as well to help his gut out. So he was showing on Sunday, by Sunday evening, he was showing that he didn't really want to eat. He didn't drink well. He had a high, I think he was at 60 beats per minute, which was really high. High respiration rate. His gums were pink that day, or kind of light, almost white that day. So he had some problems with his vital signs that we were concerned about. By later that evening, most of those had come down. The temperature went up to 103.5. So we worked on that, got him cooled down. I also was concerned about his feet. You can get some laminitis starting with some of these issues. So didn't have any heat in his feet. He was good there. But we gave him some stuff to bring the fever down, gave him some bute, and that helped a lot. He has not had a fever since then. So I want to show you all of these vital signs, guys. I'm going to try to kind of point some things out here. If you will look right in this area right here, okay, right in that flank, that's where we're going to check for our respiration. We don't want to look over here on the nostrils. The nostrils will flare, they'll move according to whatever's in the air. If you don't want to do it by letting him sniff your hand. You want to definitely do it by watching the flank, okay, right in this area. You'll be able to see that, especially if you walk up to the front of him about right here. If you can stand right in this area where you can see down that flank, that's where you're going to see the respiration rate. Okay, now we're looking for a respiration rate of 10 to 24 breaths per minute. So what we'll do here, a really easy way to do this is just to have a stopwatch on your phone. I'm using my phone to film right now, but we're just going to watch this. So it goes 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. When you get past 15 seconds, you count how many breaths you have within that, multiply it times 4, and you have breaths per minute. You can do that several times if you'd like to get a more accurate count. All right, so I'm just going to kind of do it like this. I'm going to wait till it gets there. It is 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so he had right at about between 3 and 4, I'd say 4. All right, so that's 16 breaths per minute, right? So the average is going to be 10 to 24. We're at 16, right in the middle, and that's perfect. Remember to do this with a horse that's at rest and not in a stressful environment. Some nervous horses will actually not do very well with that respiration if they're nervous. All right, So remember that with respiration, to check that at the flank, not at the nostrils, okay? Now, the second thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna check, let's see, we'll go with temperature. So we'll do temperature real quick. Let me set this down, get my thermometer out. Now, you can do this several ways. You can get some lube and you can put on the thermometer. I recommend doing something with the thermometer before inserting it into the horse, because otherwise it will stick on the skin of the horse. So you want to make sure you do something for the horse. So I'm actually just going to spit on it. It'll work just good. All right, so we're going to go right over here. Always stand to the side of the horse facing that direction. Out the back, you're gonna lift the tail. We're gonna bring that in right there. Make sure that you insert this thermometer all the way into the correct point where it starts to taper up. Make sure that you also keep the thermometer in for the full length of time until it beeps. If you don't do these two things, it will result in a low temperature. Bring that thermometer out nice and slow there. And now we're at 100.7. So if we're at 100.7, our normal range is going to be 99 to 101. So we're great there, right? All right, so we're going to leave that there. We're going to keep moving. Now we're going to go into the pulse, and I'm going to bring you with me on this one. All right, so on the pulse, you have several ways to check the pulse on a horse. My favorite way is to check right about where this halter would go under the mandible, right about here, about midline of that mandible, maybe a little forward. So my fingers will be right about here. And if you feel around, there's a sharp edge on the inside of that bone, and it feels like a soft rope. And you should be able to put your fingers, your pointing finger and your middle finger, on each side of that little rope there, okay? Let me get my clock again so that I can count my 15 seconds. Good boy, you good? All right, it's gonna be right there. Okay, all right, so the normal pulse is 28 to 44. I had 10, so multiply that times 4, and we've got 40 beats per minute. Now you're gonna feel that it's gonna go thump, thump, thump. Like Bronco did when he moved, I didn't feel that little thump at that moment. If you catch a hold of that rhythm and you know what the rhythm is, you can make the assumption that beat was there. All right, so you don't have to feel all of them. You just have to know the rhythm, and if you miss one, just make the assumption that it was there. All right, so we've done all of those. Let me put my clock up. Those are gonna be all that we're actually going to time. Now, the next thing that we're gonna do is, especially for colic, this is the first thing that you always do, is you're going to check for gut sounds. A horse should almost always have gut sounds. And the easiest place to check that is about the same place that you check respiration, which is right here behind the last rib in the flank. So make sure that you're facing that way. All right, a horse can cow kick, right? Some horses don't like that. You can use a stethoscope if you'd like. I've never found it to be necessary. I always put one hand on their back and let them know I'm there. And then I just come down and put my ear right up against the flank. I have some gut sounds, okay? It's not a ton, but we already knew that he was a little distressed. So we do have some gurgling in there. All right? So, generally speaking, I like to have sounds within 30 seconds. You could probably go more than that, but I like for them to be pretty quick because generally speaking, a horse has sounds about every 30 seconds, right? So we're gonna check this side now, okay? So we're gonna do the same thing on this side. I'm gonna put my hand here, and then I'm just gonna bring my ear down, press it firmly. Oh yeah, we got gut sounds already. All right, I wish I could make that, get that sound across to you on the camera, but if you have horses, you can go out there, if you do it safely, you can go out there and check your own horse, and you should be doing this. I'd like to reiterate that you should be practicing these things, right? Practice these with your horses all the time. In order to be good for them, ready for emergencies, you have to be prepared. All right, so far we've done respiration. He was good there. He has gut sounds. He has a pulse that's right in the range. His temperature was good. The last two things are capillary refill time and mucous membranes. I'm going to see if he'll let me bring you in a little closer here. All right, good boy. So we need to look at these gums. They should be pink, and they are. All right, that looks pretty good, not bad at all. Let's see if we can get in here and lift this lip up. All right, so I'm gonna push, release, and see it goes back to pink within 2 seconds. Be sure that whenever you lift up this lip, that you're not closing off his nostrils. He does have to breathe, guys, so make sure that you're leaving that available. The other thing is to make sure that he has plenty of saliva around through there. It is wet, okay, very wet right now. It's not dry, it's not sticky, it's not extra pale. He has good color, it's not blue or purple. All of those can be signs of shock, and we want to make sure that we're handling those things appropriately. Now, let's review real quick. So we talked about, specifically about colic today. Colic, just to review, #1 killer of horses, right? Stomach ache, #1 killer of horses. There's different types of colic. You need to identify if it's colic, if your horse doesn't have gut sounds, he's rolling around, he's biting at his stomach, kicking at his stomach, stretching a lot, doesn't want to eat, doesn't want to drink. All those things can be signs of colic. Now, what to do about them? Check your vital signs first. It's going to tell you a lot about what's going on. All right, and then from there, for most of us, it's a good idea to call a vet. And I did yesterday. I have a vet that I can call anytime. He's a wonderful guy, and he gave me a lot of good information. I've dealt with colic a lot through the years, so I kind of knew what to do, but he backed me up on a lot of things. I always call to get an extra opinion on what to do with my horses. So I hope that helped you guys out. I'm sure I missed something. Let me look at my notes and make sure I covered everything I had here. Remember that on that thermometer, make sure you go all the way in, proper depth, and stay the recommended time, which is when it beeps. All right, practice regularly. On the respiration, make sure that you're looking at that flank. All right, that's good enough for today. There's some other stuff we can go over, but I think that's enough for what we're covering today. Bronco's looking better today. I hope he continues. We'll keep you updated on our Facebook page at Crossroads Natural Horsemanship and at our student-only group page at Crossroads Connection. You guys have a great day.